Were you a minority? How was it to be
a Jew in Hollywood?
Listen, I know the answer, but I just want to...
To be a Jew in Hollywood is not a minority, I'm telling you that. I took a class at UCLA in philosophy. And that one class, that one day, changed my way of thinking. And it was a thing called utilitarianism. Well, now, here's the deal. They say if you do all the things right, if you don't smoke, and if you don't drink, and if you watch your weight, and you eat all the right things, you can add 5 years to your life. The problem is, those years are between 95 and 100. I don't want those years. I want to take those 5 years and insert them when I can enjoy them.
I hear that.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome back to Show and Teller. As you know, I start off my spiel as we start off every episode that I like to bring in really fascinating guests, people who have a story, people who are pushing the envelope, people who have overcome some adversity, some grit, and just some people who I think are extremely cool. Now, this is my first time actually meeting our guest, but I've heard about 5 minutes of the story, and I said, stop right there, stop right there, stop right there. You can't say any more because this all has to go on camera. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to our next guest, Lloyd Schwartz. Lloyd Schwartz has such a history in Hollywood. He has produced shows such as Gilligan's Island, The Brady Bunch, and I assume many more other projects that I'm so looking forward to hearing. So without further ado, Lloyd, thank you so much for being here with us on Show and Teller. And how I like to do all of our things, I'd like to say welcome.
Welcome to me, to you.
Welcome to you, welcome
Yes.
to us.
To
Welcome
both of
right
us.
Here. And I would like for you to more or less start off this podcast telling us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Give us the journey on how you got here and be the strapping young lad that you are today with your incredible forehand in your tennis game.
Yeah.
And if you can just give us a little bit of who you are, where you're from, and we'll go on a journey together, and I'll chime in occasionally to ask you some questions.
Please.
Find out.
Please interrupt me.
Okay.
Yeah, because you must understand that I'm one of my favorite subjects.
Well, aren't we all?
Yes, there we go. I'm an unusual person that I was born in Los Angeles, living in Studio City, never changed zip codes.
Ever.
Never, not once, no.
So you were born and raised in the Valley, 818 area code. You've been 818 area code this entire time.
Well, I was there so long there weren't area codes, you know. There was just like Pony Express or something, you know. But no, and then, as I say, Studio City.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Hollywood High School.
So you schlepped over the hill.
I did. Lived up a Fryman area, and there was a bus to school, and I'd take the bus, and then I would hitchhike home, because I was working after school a little bit, and it was a normal method of transportation, which is hitchhiking.
Can't do that today.
No, you can't do that.
Can't do that today.
No, and I went to when I went to grammar school, I rode my bike to grammar school and walked to school, and then I have kids. They never once did that, and
So you're one of how many?
There are 4 children in the family. I have an older brother who's a doctor. I have a younger brother who's a lawyer, and my sister, and we write together. And then I'm and my mother, we always call it the Jewish jackpot, because she had a doctor, a lawyer, and a kid in the family business.
And what did your parents do?
My father is pretty famous, was pretty famous. His name is Sherwood Schwartz, and he started in radio working with Bob Hope, and then made a transition to television. Worked on I Married Joan, and then Red Skelton for 8 years. My mother was just a housewife, and then Dad eventually created his own show, which was Gilligan's Island, and then I started working with him on that, and then he created Brady Bunch, and then we ended up producing and writing and directing all the Brady Bunch permutations, and then I've done a lot of other shows. And that's my life. My wife was an actress in Minneapolis and part of the Minneapolis Children's Theater. And she came out to Los Angeles to be an actress, and we met. And we have a children's theater now. We have the only equity children's theater in the city of Los Angeles, Storybook Theater of Los Angeles. It's at Theater West, 3333 Cahuenga Boulevard. and we do children's plays, and we've been doing that for 40 years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, if you can talk a little, I know this is about you, but tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about your father's journey and how did he become Sherwood Schwartz, that in the sense that he came up with this show called Gilligan's Island, which
Yeah.
it was a 3-hour tour, but it was much
Yes.
longer than the 3-hour tour. So
Yes.
he was the creator of the show?
Yes, he created the show.
How did he come up with this idea?
Well, first of all, he was going to be a doctor. He wanted to go to medical school, and at that time there was a Jewish quota, and so he had been writing jokes. His brother was working for Bob Hope, and so he would sell jokes to Bob, and then Bob Hope said, "Hey, listen, if you don't get into medical school, come join us." And so that's how his career. And he was working for Red Skelton, but he always wanted to do his own show, and he was in bed with my mother, which is proper. And so he came up with this idea. And my mother said, "Go back to sleep." No, but he wanted his theme of, and it's the same as Brady Bunch, by the way. His theme is the most important thing is how we have to learn to live together, to get along. So his theory was, what if I take 7 people who shouldn't be together and place them in a place where they need each other to survive, which led to Gilligan's Island. So many of the people think that it's just this funny, crazy show, but it's a kind of, as he referred to, as a social microcosm. So you have somebody who's like a leader, somebody who's a scientist, somebody who's vain, somebody who's like this, and we put them together and
model.
They need each other to survive. And so that's Gilligan's Island.
And he came up with the idea, and how does it work in Hollywood? He pitched it to...
Yeah.
So how does it work?
All right. Well, he had some a reputation because he had done several shows, My Favorite Martian, and a bunch of them. And he went to CBS and he presented the idea, and CBS liked it.
What year was this?
This was 1962, 63, something like that. And the president of CBS, who was a very tough guy, said, "Okay, so they get marooned on the island. That's the first week. What about the next one?" And Dad says, "No, that's it. That's the show. They're on the island." And he didn't like it so much, the president of CBS, that he ordered another show at the same time about a captain and an idiot, whatever, and they would travel around, called Bailey's and Balboa, which went off the air immediately. And then Gilligan's was on. Yeah.
And he hired a team of writers, or he was the main
No,
writer?
it wasn't a little different than it is now, where you have a whole staff. It was just him. He wrote it. I think he wrote the pilot with his brother, who was a writer also. And that was the Gilligan, and it was when it went on the air, it was called the worst show in the history of television. But
We Main Clans, God Less.
yeah, there you go. That's perfect. In fact, the skipper always say, "Well, from now on, it's smooth sailing," and then a disaster would happen.
How many years was Gilligan on?
Gilligan was only on the air 3 years, but 99 episodes, because he used to do 39 episodes a year.
Wow.
It's never been off. It's the most rerun show in the history of television. That's it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So he went in, and then after 3 seasons, they just said, CBS was like, "Hey, we're done."
Not. Okay. There's always a story. Okay. It was picked up for the 4th year. And Mr. Paley, who was president of CBS, laid out the schedule, and he showed it to his wife. His wife loved Westerns, especially Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke had been canceled. His wife said, "Where's Gunsmoke?" And Mr. Paley said, "Right here." And they erased Gilligan's Island, put back Gunsmoke, and it was on. It was canceled.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now your father had success with
Right.
Gilligan's Island.
Right.
How many years after Gilligan's Island does he come up with this next wild, incredible thing that you were involved in?
They're very much involved in, yeah. Well, so Gilligan's Island went off in 66. I worked on him with another show, short-lived, called It's About Time.
May I ask, and I don't want to,
65.
we're not doing math on the show, but in 1966, how old were you at this point?
20.
20. Okay.
Yeah, I was born in 46. I'm going to be 80 this year.
Kanai Hara.
Yeah, thank you very
Leah
much.
Hara should live to 120.
I'll talk about that. Well, now, here's the deal. They say if you do all the things right, if you don't smoke, and if you don't drink, and if you watch your weight, and you eat all the right things, you can add 5 years to your life. The problem is, those years are between 95 and 100. I don't want those years. I want to take those 5 years and insert them when I can enjoy them.
I hear that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we're getting off on that.
We digress.
Yes. I hope we do a lot of digression.
We will.
Rather than just tell my dad's history.
We're going to get to you. Don't worry. We need to have context. Now we're getting into you.
Okay. So,
1966. You were 20 years old.
yeah. But so Dad came up with this idea about the Brady Bunch. And it was called, when he created it, it was called Yours and Mine and Ours. Yours, Mine, and Ours. Or Yours, Mine. I'm not sure. Anyway, he tried to sell it. Couldn't sell it, even though he had a big history. And fortunately, a movie came out called Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda, which had a similar theme. And television is, imitation is the sincerest form of television.
Flyer.
Right.
Yes, and TV, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they said, wait a minute, didn't Sherwood Schwartz come up with an idea that was like that movie? Dad had created the movie before there was the TV show before there was a movie. And so then they brought him back in, and that became Gilligan's Island. I had been a stand-up comedian for a while. I had been a summer camp counselor. I had a degree at UCLA in television and all. And he said, would you come and, I've got these 6 kids on this show, The Brady Bunch, here. And I said, I don't want to do that. I said, I have my own career. I already sold Love American Style, an episode of that, and I was doing the stand-up. And he said, well, who should do this job? And I said, well, somebody who's been a performer. He said, you'd have been a performer. Someone had a degree in writing. Someone would work with the kids. And I said, okay, so I'll do it.
Your dad pulled your arm.
Yes, he did. And I said, okay, but these are the rules for me. I said, I have to keep doing my own things. And this was the strange one. I said, you can never know where I live. And he didn't understand that. He had about the same expression you had. I said, you're my parents. And if I see you every day and I see you on the weekends, I just got to have a place where you're not. And they never knew where I lived.
Seriously?
No. They never, ever knew where I lived.
How many years?
Probably 5 years. 5 years, yeah. Yeah. And that worked very well. And then I worked up with Brady. I would quit every year. I said, I want to do this. And they said, I'll make you executive associate producer. And I said, well, I don't want to. He said, okay, you can direct. Like that. And by the end of Brady, I was executive producer and, writing. And I've done all the reruns, the reissues of Brady Bunch, the Brady Christmas and Brady Girls Get Married and the feature films, and lots of specials.
How many years was Brady Bunch on the air?
Brady Bunch was on the air for 5 years, 117 episodes. Mm-hmm.
From what years to what year?
69 to 74, the exact length of time as the Nixon administration. But there's no correlation.
No, just coincidentally enough.
Enough. That's it.
So at what point did you know that maybe you guys hit gold? I mean, after the first season?
Surprisingly enough, not at all while it was on the air. What happened with Brady Bunch, it was barely making it each time. It was never higher than number 12 in the ratings. Syndication is what made Brady Bunch a superpower, because the ABC, the network, put it on during the day. So kids would come home, and there was an hour of it. Kids would come home from school, and they'd watch it an hour a day. And it became like everybody knows every episode.
Just aside, I have a 3.5-year-old daughter.
Right.
And Sunday night is our movie night that we sit together as a family. We occasionally, as a family, watch the Brady Bunch, and my 3-year-old loves Brady Bunch.
Well, okay.
I mean, say hi to Medina right now.
Dina, good to talk to you. Okay.
So
Now,
you did that to 1974, yes.
So 1974. But it continues to, for example, next week, I am going down to the city hall where they're trying to make the Brady house a historical place or something. So I got to speak on that behalf. There's specials all the time.
On the house.
On the series. They took the original outside of the house, which was just a kind of a shot.
Right.
And they turned that house to look just like the series. And they did a series on that, which I was one of the producers of, for the Discovery Network. So that was everything's very high rated with Brady,
Right. And so you're now mid-20s now. It's the show ends.
Yeah, show
And
ends.
Show ends in your mid-20s. You're a producer of
Right.
a big show. And now you say, okay, I've made it. I get to put my feet up.
Oh, yeah.
I have a long life
Sure.
ahead.
Sure. I never have to work again.
I never have to work again.
It
And
doesn't work that way.
so that's my question to you. Is it like, how does one keep motivation when you feel, I don't want to say like hit gold, but you hit gold kind of early on in your career.
Sure.
And now what's the motivating factor now?
Well, first of all, the Brady Bunch was never my show. It was my dad's show, and I knew how to do it with him. I always wanted to always do my own thing. I started doing theater. I wrote, and I was very close with Ann B. Davis, Alice from the Brady Bunch. And so I wrote the first play ever written for dinner theater. So I started writing theater. My wife and I started the children's theater. And so we've been doing that for 40 years.
Why not?
We win all kinds of awards for that. I've just got some award coming up. I can't remember what it is. But we did that. And then I had met somebody. I'd written a couple episodes of other shows. But I met one of the guys who was working for the network on Brady Bunch. He said, why don't you come over here? He liked me. So I worked at the network for a couple of years. Or 1 year. 1 year. And then I left there to produce another show called What's Happening. And then other shows have come up along the way. I worked on Love Boat, and I worked on, let me see.
What you do on the Love Boat?
I was a writer and a story editor on that.
Fun fact, my name is Rabbi Mordechai Teller,
Right.
but my English name is Gavin Teller.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I'll let you put two and two together.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
My parents were watching the Love Boat. In the
For
early
really?
80s.
Is that what they
In
named
the
it?
early 80s, they were looking at Captain Steuben, right, and they saw Gavin McLeod, and they said, we have a boy, we're naming him Gavin.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I don't know if keep on here on it, we're watching Show and Teller, but there's my connection to the Love Boat.
oh my gosh. I'm very close with, in fact, I'm supposed to do a podcast for them because I'm very close with Ted Lange. And he's directed plays of mine, and we're in each other's lives, like that. Same with Fred Grandy. I did a play last year with him, Love Boat, So, I mean, and my life is great. I enjoy it all the time.
Sounds like you're still very busy,
Oh,
career-wise.
yeah, I'm very busy. I have a feature film coming up with at Walden. It's on a lady named Dr. Mary Walker. She's the only woman to win the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Wow.
There are 3,500 men have won the Congressional Medal of Honor and one woman. And so we're going to do a movie about that. I have a one-woman show that plays around the country. In fact, we're supposed to be going to Forge Theater and do it there. I've written one-man shows on, I have one that plays around on John Wilkes Booth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I do a lot of historical writing, and I published a novel last year for the first time called It Might Have Been.
So as you're speaking, there's this, in our society, you retire at age 70, you retire at age 73. Doesn't sound to me like I was joking earlier, but it doesn't sound to me like you put your feet up. It sounds to me like you're very, very involved, still looking for meaning, purpose, aspiring to make yourself.
Well, somewhat. First of all, people always ask my age, people say, are you retired? I would have had to have had a job in order to have something to retire from. I mean, I never had, only when I worked at Network, went to a place called HR. I didn't even know what HR was. And they told me if I did that, I could get a week, 2 weeks vacation. I didn't know what they were talking about. And so I left that. So everything's been like piecework. And that continues. When I write something, this sounds a little arty. I don't write it to sell anymore. I write it to, something that I want to read, so I need to write the whole thing in order to read it. And so I've written about 125 movies. I've only tried to sell a few of them. And then something comes up where I said, that might work. I don't like rejection very much. So I don't put things out to get rejected like that. So it's just, it's a good time. I mean, also I'm able to do theater anytime I want. Theater, the making a movie is so expensive. Then you have to get to so many people to try and sell it all the time. I did a movie a couple of years ago. It's now going to all these film festivals it's called Love and Taxes, because I wanted to direct this movie myself. It's a 2-character movie about a woman goes to her tax guy and they have a romantic relationship. It's like same time next year. So she sees him every, year or so, and he learns everything about her because of her checks and things, and she learns everything about him because of what's on the walls, his family and all that, and they in and out in relationship. And so I went to this director friend of mine. He said he wanted to direct it, and I said, well, because I wanted to direct it myself, but I said, I'll only let you direct this if you do it where each of those scenes is one shot. And he agreed. And we've been winning all these awards in the last couple of years, all these different film festivals.
So you're still doing things out of the box. You're
always
pushing the limits. You're
always out of the box. And never to be different, only because it fits what we're doing. When I wrote the first dinner theater play, it's because, let me look at this. This is what it should be. And then I found out later it was the first dinner theater play. Yeah.
If you had to give advice to up-and-coming 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds who are starting off in Hollywood and they're looking for fame and fortune, or they're looking to put their name out there, is this a recipe for disaster?
Those are the wrong goals anyway. When I taught at UCLA, producing for television, and I would begin the class by saying, before we get into that subject, let's talk about mathematics. The week has 7 days. Don't be a person who doesn't like what they do for 5 days to get to 2 days that they like, which is the weekend. That's bad math. That's 5 to 2 bad math. Good math is liking what you do for 5 days to get to 2 days you also like, which is 7-0 good math. Whatever you go into, for God's sakes, do good math.
Be practical and enjoy what you're doing in life.
Yes.
You only have one life.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you live by that you enjoyed what you did.
Yes.
You were engaged in it.
Yes.
You weren't necessarily doing it for ulterior motives.
No.
You were doing it for not to sound artsy, but you said for the art, or this is...
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite things is the children's theater, and we do lots of school field trips. Buses show up, or endorsed by the city, the Board of Education and all that. And that's the joy for me of seeing that. And when we have famous people come to the theater because they want to bring their kids to theater, and they know me, and they go, why are you doing this? Why am I handing out a program to a 5-year-old? And I said, because it's worth doing, and it has nothing to do with money.
If we can change gears a bit.
Okay.
What was it like being a Jew in Hollywood? Were you a dime a dozen? Were you a minority? How was it to be a
Jew in Hollywood?
I know the answer, but I just want to...
To be a Jew in Hollywood is not a minority, I'm telling you that. Right when television started, I think 80% of the writers were Jewish. So I've had no discrimination whatsoever that way.
How do you feel looking at the industry now with anti-Semitism and discrimination?
Again, I don't think there's anti-Semitism in the business. I mean, there's ageism in the business. I mean, it's much harder. My son is a writer. It's much harder for him. I'm not looking to do new stuff all the time. But he's a white male. They only want to hire ethnic or women and young. That's a tough battle. Now, when I was the youngest producer in the business, because at that time, everybody was 50 and I was 26 and I was producing, and people who had, I was having to be the boss of people who had gone to my bar mitzvah, Yeah.
So you're not seeing much anti-Semitism happening in the business.
No.
And you think it's okay to say I'm Jewish in Hollywood, but it might be harder if you're saying I'm 45-year-old male, white person to get a job. You're seeing that these types of people are not getting opportunities.
That's exactly right, yeah.
So it's not based necessarily on merit.
Oh, no, it's absolutely not based on merit now. They have almost a formula on what they do. You can't hire you because we got to hire two. That's Nick or this one. You know, when I produced What's Happening, which was a black show, and I had come when I was a stand-up comedian, my partner was a Black Panther, and we did black, white, very tough material. So when I was over producing What's Happening, I said I want to see every black writer in town, and I went to the agents, and the agents didn't have any, and now it's everywhere. And that's much healthier, you know. But we had a whole white writing staff for What's Happening, and we'd be walking around going like white, we're black people trying to tell.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had mentioned off camera that you said that you were an agnostic.
Yes.
And then you said that you turned into an atheist. So I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the story. If you can tell us
my religious journey.
Your religious journey and what that's all about.
All right. Well, I had a bar mitzvah, and I had gone to Hebrew school for 3 years. You know, 3 times a day. I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings, and I really didn't like it very much. And so then I got bar mitzvah, Rabbi Wise, which is an interesting name, but Rabbi Wise. And then, so I was kind of just, it was not really too much a part of my life, the Jewish thing. But the one thing he did say, which I always remembered, and I always used to confuse Rabbi Wise because he was an elderly guy with a white beard kind of, and I always confused him with God. I didn't know what the difference was, you know. So, but he always would say, you got to go to Jerusalem or Israel, that's where the truth is. So we went to Israel on our honeymoon, my wife and I, and I'll tell you about the wedding in a minute. But so we go to there for the honeymoon, and I couldn't wait to get to the Wailing Wall, and instead of the Wailing Wall, and again, I was not very religious. I was kind of an agnostic. And I looked at all the people dancing around in circles and saying, and it looked to me kind of like out of National Geographic, natives dancing around, and I said, I'm out. So at the Wailing Wall, I became an atheist.
The irony.
Yes. Now, then I remained an atheist until my first son was born, and I was in the, you know, he was being born, and I saw what was happening, and I said, someone must have come up with this plan on how you do this and all this, and I said, and I became an agnostic again. So it's a very limited, you know, journey.
You didn't want, for those who don't know, there's agnostic means that you don't necessarily know if there is a God, or there's an atheist, you know there is no God.
Right.
So you went from I don't know if there's a God to there is no God.
To I don't know.
I don't know if there's a God anymore.
That's my narrow.
We didn't move up.
My narrow journey. Now, but I will tell you this: one of the most interesting things was we went to Israel. We flew to Israel from London on El Al, and it was November of 1976. I'm sitting next to a guy who I didn't know, and he says, "Do you mind if I change my shirt?" And I said, "No, it's okay." So he changed the shirt. We get off the airplane, and people break into applause. Now, this was Yitzhak Rabin. Now, I didn't know about Israeli politics. I didn't know who this was. I probably should have, but he was a nice guy.
You were sitting next to Yitzhak?
Yes, right.
No, you weren't.
I'm not lying here.
You were I'm just saying that. You were sitting next to Yitzhak.
And I didn't know who he was.
Unbelievable.
Now, we get off the plane, and we're getting the luggage, and a little old lady comes by with a shopping cart, Golda Meir.
Huh.
This was the day Sadat was coming to Israel. And all of the people, the dignitaries of Israel, were coming back to Israel to be there. That's the plane that I was on. Okay.
What an incredible journey.
That's right. That's right.
With the prime minister.
That's right. He wasn't prime minister at the time.
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay. But I'll tell you this funny about getting married. I call Rabbi Wise, the same rabbi who was bar mitzvah. I get his secretary on the phone. I said, I want to talk to the rabbi about performing the ceremony, and I'd like a noon ceremony. And the secretary goes, "Oh, what?" I said, I would like, on January 4th, I would like a noon ceremony. Rabbi would never do anything like that. For some reason, she thought I'd been saying a nude ceremony. I had thought nude ceremony, maybe there was some religious thing I didn't know that you can't do. I didn't know.
So at what point did she figure it out that you were saying nude? I said 12 p.m.
That's right. Eventually it came out. But it was, then I saw to myself, nude ceremony, did she think I thought the rabbi should be nude or all the people should be nude? What was going through her head? I think she's the one who had a problem, not me. Yeah.
That's quite good. Interesting story. Interesting story.
Yeah.
If you could go back, would you do anything different? Or is there anything that you have any regrets on that you can share?
I have very few regrets. I took a class at UCLA in philosophy. And that one class, that one day, changed my way of thinking. And it was a thing called utilitarianism. And that says that in every decision you make, there's a certain percentage of right and a certain percentage of wrong. Now, we don't ascribe those percentages. For even coming here, I could have slept in instead of having this, But I thought, hey, I'll come here. And so, but sleeping, it was an interesting thought. So let's say there was 20% there and 80% coming here. Okay, so you look at all decisions that way, which means that the closest decision that you make, the 49-51, should I get that car, should I marry that girl, whatever, probably in the other order. But, that means there's such a percentage of right in the other one that I'm able to say to you or to anybody, why did you do that? I said, because I thought of all of the different aspects, and I said I'd added it all up, and I made the best decision I could at the time. Now, certain things you may want to relive later, but as long as I can say I didn't go against all the things that were at that time, all the pluses and the minuses. And then I'm able to say to anybody, well, that's why I did. I made the best decision I could. Harry Truman dropped the atomic bomb, on Hiroshima.
1945.
Yeah, right. So they went to him and they said, okay, if you don't do this, we can lose so many men. If you do this, you're going to lose all those, civilians in Hiroshima, 100,000 versus maybe 500, whatever it was going to be. And he made the best decision he could. Now, what he didn't know was the nuclear arms race after that and everything else. But he slept that night because he was able to say, I made the best decision I could. So that's kind of how I look at it, and I wish more people would do it. My wife relives every decision all the time, and I'm much happier. She's not happy about doing it, but that's what she does,
And you tell her, laying up, honey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. As I'm getting a little older, I'm able. It's easier for me to believe that, I think that's part of probably one of the products of getting older.
Do you live with any faith?
What do they say? There's no atheists in foxholes. I think when there's a tough situation, I suddenly get religious. Now, I've written lots of religious things. I think I was starting to tell before we got on here. I wrote a book called God, My Story, the Unauthorized Autobiography. And it's kind of a companion piece to the Bible, and it's humorous. So then I delve in that, and so they end up reading about that. I wrote a thing called Gethsemane, when a scientist and a religious guy go back in time to see if they can find out whether Jesus is the Son of God or not, So when I write something like that, it forces me to read like the New Testament and, But it's not really a part of my life. I just believe in only the one thing: don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt anybody. And it's not don't hurt anybody because of do unto others as you would let them do unto you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe you shouldn't just do that, not because it has anything to do with me. Just don't hurt anybody.
Because it's not good for your soul? It's not good for...
It's not the right thing to do.
Who told you that?
Me. Because I think everybody just interprets the golden rule as a selfish thing.
You're being more altruistic and just saying it's just not
No.
That has nothing to do with me. It's just not the right thing
Right,
to do.
right. Because that little corollary aspect of it, I don't, go along with. Just like I always think I love you is an extremely selfish thing to say.
How so?
Well, you're with a girl or a guy, whatever, in a relationship, and you say, I love you. And it's like the last thing you say is, look how you are so good that I'm giving you my love. Isn't that great? It's far better to say you love me, which is a more interesting thing.
I've never heard that before, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think when people say I love you, what they're really saying is, I love how you make me feel.
Okay, well, wouldn't that be better?
Right?
Yeah.
I love how you make me feel.
Yeah.
It's because really we're all
Right.
selfish individuals who are
Right.
doing things because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So I love how you make me feel.
Okay, well, then gives her a chance to think about that. The other guy says, just.
And also, since we're in this esoteric idea,
Yeah.
I love you. A lot of times, it's very transactional.
Mm-hmm.
If I love you because you did something for me,
That's right.
and therefore I'm just telling you, thank you.
All those are better. So we as guys, or again in a homosexual relationship, it's the same thing. We've gotten so far. It's the last thing you have to give that up. It's like you've done everything else. Now here it comes. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of love, just because this is interesting, and do you feel though that you altruistically, unconditionally love your children and your grandchildren?
Oh yeah.
It's a different kind of love.
Oh
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah. Here, I was like, if you're walking down the street,
Yeah.
a truck is coming. You're walking with your wife, okay? It's one of those things, if I take the truck and push her out of the way, or I jump out of the way and she gets hit by the truck, which is that? With your kids, there's no choice. My wife, I would think about it, I mean, I love her, but, Also, I do the math. In one of these situations, they have a lot longer to live than I do.
Yeah. The more you give unconditionally, the more you get back in return. So with a child, you didn't ask for a thank you when you woke up at 2 a.m. when they were crying or they needed to change their diaper. You waited by the door when they were a little late to come home. Because you're like, where's my kid?
Mm-hmm. It's look, I'm a product of the 50s, okay? And parenting was much less, physical. And I don't remember my parents ever saying, I love you and all those kind of things. And I would have missed that. My wife and I always talked, we both kind of were product of the 50s. And we both said, hey, we're not going to do that with our kids. And so we're all over them. And we're certainly all over. It's the same as like.
And it doesn't matter that they're in their late 40s
No.
or late 30s.
No.
You still
Yeah.
think about them before you go to bed.
Oh yeah.
And you get a phone call from them occasionally to say, I'm okay.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a different thing, and it's much healthier. And look, I have never spoken about this in air anywhere, but the Brady Bunch is now used as an example of perfect parenting. I mean, people talk about it. Oh, it's not. It's not. There's no physicality on the show.
They don't kiss each other?
No.
And Mike Brady doesn't hug his boys?
No.
Carol doesn't hug her daughters?
No. It's very sterile. You see the husband and wife kiss each other.
That I see.
Yeah.
And I see them get into the same bed together.
That's right. Which is interesting because he was gay anyway, but that's another whole other issue. But Mike Brady wasn't gay. Bob Reed was gay. But but that is I think it's a flaw in the show, but it's a product of my dad's how he viewed parenting. He's Mike Brady. My dad was Mike Brady, basically. So all those lectures and all that stuff he would do was like my dad. you know. And then when we did that show, I would basically represent the kid's point of view, and he would represent the parents' point of view, and we'd talk. You know, the shows. It was like sadly, a lot of the things happened in my life. You know.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. And when they started dating, it was my sad dating career too. By the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's got to be a storyline based off of true stories.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think I'll close off here is
Okay.
what gets you out of bed in the morning? What excites you?
Well, even today, everybody divides the day into three parts. You got morning, afternoon, and evening. One of those parts is a family deal, whether it's just with my wife or the grandchildren or the children or something like that. Then one part is writing. I'm always writing. And the other third is somehow making something else happen. Now, to try to get a movie to somebody or have a meeting with them or lunch or something like that. And that's kind of it. And by the way, that can happen in any order of those things. Yeah.
And if you could leave the younger generation of people who are listening to this,
Okay.
what would be your words of wisdom that you would share with them? You have the $1 million advice, the $1 million wisdom, something that either you've noticed or you've seen, something that your takeaway that you would like to give over to.
Did I screw up?
No,
Okay,
you're
here.
good.
Okay. You know, John Wooden, and I was a cheerleader at UCLA, so I won't even go into that. That's whole other stories.
He was a head coach.
UCLA.
He used to play basketball.
He says, "Make each day your masterpiece." That was his quote. And I think that's pretty cool to think about that. And you only go that way once. You only have that day once. Do as much as you can. Don't hurt anybody. You know, some of the other things we've been talking about. You know, and I don't look over my shoulder. A lot of people look when somebody's gaining on me, I did something wrong or something. I don't have any of that. So just make sure you don't do that, you know, which just comes down to don't hurt anybody.
I'll say one more thing, but how would you like to be remembered?
Just a guy who tried the best he could, you know, to make things a little better.
The producer or the father?
In all the ways. It's funny, when I was my first grandson was born, and see, grandchildren have the naming rights. See, I wanted to be called Gramps, and so he called me Gamps because he couldn't say Gramps, and now I'm Gamps to like almost everybody in the family, and I think that's cool, you know. So when you're saying how you want to be remembered, probably on the tombstone it'll be Lloyd Schwartz Gamps, you know.
So I think you're raising the point, and then I think it's a good idea, is that most of the time is that we spend the 80-20 rule. We spend 80% of our time seeking the fame, the fortune, the big house, the fast car, the name on the credits, Lloyd Schwartz. But I think what we just determined from you is that what you'd like to be remembered as is Gamps.
Yeah.
Gamps, the cool grandfather, the family man, the person who something substantial. Yes, it's great. You know, you've done you have an incredible resume. You've done such incredible things in your career. But I think what I would like to show is that there's more to life than just chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
And
100%.
we have the art, the creativity, the purpose.
What do they always say? They say when people are dying, they say, "I wish I could have spent more time in the office." You know, they don't ever say that.
They ever say that?
No.
Not that the guy, as you said, I want to be known as a good guy.
Yeah.
Because that I'll be rabbinic for a second, but
Hey.
there's a book of work. It's called Ethics of the Fathers, also known as Pirkei Avot.
Okay.
And it's a bunch of sayings of wisdom from our sages from 2,000 years ago. And I'm paraphrasing it. There is the crown of kingship, which is worth this amount.
Okay.
There's a crown of priesthood, which is worth this amount.
Right.
There's a crown of the Torah, which is worth this amount. But there's something which is worth more than all of those things. And you would think crown of priesthood, crown of kingship.
Yeah.
The crown of having a good name
Yeah.
is worth more.
Okay.
We want to be good people. Our name is what ultimately will stand for all eternity. Lloyd Schwartz, how did he do? He was a great guy.
Yeah.
He lived by his values. He lived with being an authentic individual.
Yeah.
That's our legacy. And it sounds to me like you've done that.
Yeah, I don't like being necessarily put in the past like that, but
You're still doing it.
Okay.
So I apologize. As I say, you have out until 120.
oh, good. I'll take those.
Take till 120 and make those 5 years really good.
Extend them.
Extend them.
Yeah. This has
And
been
then
a
work
pleasure.
on your forehand and your backhand. It should all go in.
Yeah, this has been a pleasure.
I appreciate it very much, Lloyd. Thank you so much.
I want to knock over the microphone.
I'll come over to you.
Okay.
And thank you for your time, and learned a lot, and show me continue that blessing in all areas of your life, and enjoy all aspects of your life.
All right.
And we look forward to being in touch.
I like that. Okay.
Take care. Yeah.